continuing coverage of 365 days of the Modi Sarkar continues right now here on NewsX. My colleague Karthik Sharma spoke to Railways Minister Suresh Prabhu on what time exactly is the Modi train coming to India. Here's rapid fire where Karthik Sharma and Suresh Prabhu. Take a look.
NDA will complete its 1 year in power on 26th May. I am joined by Railway Minister Suresh Prabhu on several issues which concerns the government today. Sir, Mr. Modi spoke about a lot of issues concerning railways during his Lok Sabha campaign, and one was infrastructure. What developments we have seen in terms of upgrade during last 1 year?
In fact, that's the only thing we have been doing in last 1 year, and particularly after the last budget. Our focus is only infrastructure, infrastructure, infrastructure. And in that infrastructure, our focus is what is going to give us then immediate gain in terms of profitability, in terms of convenience to passengers, in terms of safety, and in terms of improving the viability and the efficiency of the railways. Let me give an example. See, if there are lines which are congested, that's why we are not able to put in more traffic into the system. Those lines are congested, so what is the way do we do it? If there is a heart which is clogged, you do a bypass, right? So what we are doing is, we are doing exactly the same by putting where the single lines are getting congested, we are trying to put a second line. Where the two lines are already there, we are trying to put a third line to decongest the atmosphere, or the fourth line to send more trains onto the system. By doing this, if a new project costs 10 to 12 crores, a doubling, tripling project will cost maybe half or about 70% of that. So we are saving money. The land is next to the tracks, most of the cases, not all, and therefore we can actually complete a project sooner, faster, better, and we'll be able to give relief to those who are suffering. Rather than now putting up lines into nowhere to nowhere, it is not going to work. So what exactly we are planning to do, and that is why the infrastructure focus of Mr. Modi is in place. Secondly, we are doing a lot of electrification, which will improve profitability, which will be good in the long run for environment, and which will in turn will also improve efficiency of railways. Thirdly, this time we have put large focus on removing unmanned level crossing, which kills so many people and which is really very sad. So we have put about maybe 8,000-9,000 unmanned level crossings will be removed, and that's why we have put the money into that. We have put some ROBs, road over bridges, which is infrastructure. I think it is one of the largest ROBs in any time that we have seen in the last several years. So our first time, I would say the highest ever. So all of this is nothing but infrastructure. We are putting money, we are putting resources into station development. Station development again is infrastructure. So in fact, the only emphasis that this budget has put is one on infrastructure. Second, and I would put it a little larger also, is on customer satisfaction. Improving food quality, improving linen quality, improving the interiors of design. So I asked National Institute of Design to do that, to make sure that the toilets are properly designed, so we are working on it. So all of this is nothing but customer satisfaction as well as infrastructure.
You know, you spoke about infrastructure, but when we speak about infrastructure, we always have China or Japan in mind. Like we went to China to cover Prime Minister's visit. The infrastructure which I saw in Shanghai in terms of the rail or the city rails which connect the city to the airport was impressive. That's the only word I can use, completely impressive. Can we have a rail infrastructure like the one which exists in China or Japan in India?
You know, that should be definitely our ambition, has to be ambition. That is what is motivating us to come up and bring good standard. I'm glad that you raised the issue. China started modernizing the infrastructure 35 years ago. They have reached here today. Japan started doing that maybe about 50 years ago, and that's what they reached today. If we pursue what we are doing today and try to do stage by stage, we should not just aspire for the moon, because we must make sure the reality today, that we must make sure that the common people interests are also taken into account, and we know exactly where we started. But if you start doing that, first 5 year span, as I given in my budget speech, 8,50,000 crores, which is far, far higher than any time in the past. And people ask me why you want to spend so much. Can you imagine? The Chinese spend maybe 10 times, 100 times of this. That's how they reach here.
Yes.
So this is one. Next 5 year plan, I would feel I should try to put even double this amount or triple this amount. And then next 5 year plan, I should even now double or triple of what I am going to do in next 15 years time. That's my vision for 2030. What China did in 35 years, Japan did in 50 years, we'll be able to do it in 15 years.
But then what about bullet trains? When people think about Indian infrastructure, or the current situation and compare it with countries like China and Japan, they always talk about bullet trains. And this is something which even the Prime Minister spoke about, that we must have these corridors. So are we going to see corridors in the next 4 years?
See, we are definitely working on it. With the help of the government of Japan, we are preparing the feasibility studies. It should be available very soon. We'll have to work out and find out how that is going to work. That is with Mumbai to Ahmedabad. Delhi to Chennai, and I'm sure you heard it in China. We are trying to do it with Chinese government, and we are trying to work on that. So once they are ready, then we'll be able to take a call. We need to probably create an authority to make sure that safety issues, to look at technology issues, and over a period of time, we should be able to indigenize all this. See, there is no point importing it from other countries and developing their economies. We have to import it to begin with. There's no choice because we don't have the technology like the China did. The bullet technology was only with two countries, France and Japan. China got it, mastered it, and now they are exporting it. I think we should also learn a lesson from this and try to develop a technology within our own country by initially importing it, but then indigenizing it. That's what I asked Dr. Saraswat, one of a great eminent scientist, used to head DRDO, now member of the NITI Aayog, to prepare a complete roadmap to make sure that all our production unit, all our workshops, all our new ideas, how we can indigenize it more so that they become better.
Is there a timeline?
See, timeline is always there. We are trying to do it as fast as possible. But like new railway line cannot be completed in less than 3 to 5 years. Even China could not do it in less than that time. So as you see today what Chinese have done, because they started earlier. Even if you don't start today, then we can never reach there. But you must have enough timeline understanding, because these railways in particular, you cannot construct whatever you may do. And then of course if there are roadblocks like the land and others, it's a challenge which China doesn't have. But you must understand that every new
That would have been
initiative.
my next question, that the fact that your land acquisition bill, nothing is happening in Parliament, how do you go about the projects like building a bullet train,
But that's why
creating a separate corridor?
But that's why I'm trying to work on doubling and tripling where the land is with the railways, so that I'm trying to get over it. But I'm sure we'll have to deal with these larger issues, and railways cannot be just oblivious to the reality outside. So therefore we have to find a solution to this problem. That's why our government is trying to talk to everybody and saying that the new amended land bill will help the economy, help the farmers, help the poor, help the country. We should try to make it in a way that addresses. And in any case, none of the initiatives of the government of India, led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, are in any way farthest of imagination, nothing but pro-farmer initiatives.
You spoke about safety, but when we go through the safety records, one thing which is very, very glaring is that most of the bridges are very old. They are past their date. Is there a specific policy program you have?
No, we see, actually, ideally, all our aging infrastructure has to be replaced. But then for that we need money. So that's for when I prepared 8,51 crore plan, it is hardly touching some part of it. And then people are raising questions saying that why you want 8,51 crores? So I'm surprised. So as you are asking me correctly, if you want to modernize all our infrastructure, the amount of money that will require maybe even 100 times of that. So now, as a reality, we don't have that money, but we've made a very modest plan, which is, of course, far, far higher than any time we thought about it, but still not enough to deal with all the challenges that railways are facing.
Then sir, how are you going to meet the challenge of meeting aspiration in terms of service with profitability? Because ultimately any service provider needs to earn profit to run it.
Yeah, absolutely right. But that is absolutely reality. That's what I have been, this is my white paper that I present to them. But that's what exactly I'm saying. This is the paper I presented to the Parliament, because I have talked about all the challenges. And this is not something, you cannot get everything at the same time. You cannot get the best of service without paying for it. You cannot get profitability at the same time serving social objectives. You cannot get the bullet train by not thinking about it. So these are all the challenges. That's why in the most difficult situation, wherein people have disparate expectations, we are still trying to work in a way that we address all the immediate concerns as well as do not compromise with the long-term interests of the country.
Is privatization an answer? Like in so many other countries, railways are private and you have a regulatory authority. Do you think that some sectors need to be privatized?
But this is something I am really surprised by these questions, because people keep asking non-issues, we try to make it an issue. Is a privatization going to improve the railways? If so, which company in the world wants to take over railways as a private entity? As Mr. Ratan Tata, when I had called him here, he said, I'm surprised by this question, because who is going to, the railways could be valued at a market price of several $1 trillion. which company in the world wants to come and take it over? So when we are not doing, there is nothing as a possibility. What we are trying to do is not this is not an ideological issue of privatization or no privatization. So sometimes we just get lost into this ideological debate without realizing the importance of it.
You're saying it's not
So
possible.
what is important? No, I'm not saying that. What I'm just saying is, what is important is improving the viability of railways. What is important is improving service quality of railways. What is important is to improve the long-term sustainability by increasing and making investment into the railways infrastructure, making sure that we actually expand our network constantly. That is what is important. To make that happen, irrespective of ideology, whatever we can do, we should do. We are always saying that we want more private capital to come in. So we are not saying that privatization is what as supposed to be, because there is some nomenclatures of it defined. For example, you say excellence. Excellence is meant by something else. But so therefore we should not use such terms which confuses the people, and that's why I'm not using that term. I'm just saying is very clearly that we want private-public participation in railways, and therefore we are creating a regulatory framework. We are already, as you said, regulator, we are already creating a regulatory framework, which I announced in my parliamentary budget speech, and we already set the ball in motion by requesting Mr. Arvind Panagriya, Vice Chairman of Niti Aayog, to actually create a roadmap for it. Mr. Vivek Debroy has already talked about it, and therefore we are, so all of this is in place. What I'm saying is, ideologically, we should not send signals which confuses the people, and therefore we come to a conclusion that this is the only solution to the problem.
You know, with the advent of collision politics, you know, this ministry took the brunt, because this ministry from 1996 onwards went out to all the regional parties, alliance partners. And in turn, in people's imagination and popular narrative, it was a dole-out ministry. Suppose you have a minister from Bihar, the maximum things will go to Bihar. Someone is from Bengal, the maximum things would go from Bengal. How have you addressed this structural issue with which this ministry had to grapple for 15 years?
You know, I personally feel that populism, as is commonly understood, if it can solve the problem, it's a good idea. It's like child wanting all the time lollipops. So mother is very fond of the child, loves the child, use 100 lollipops. What will happen to the child? So mother will not like to give lollipop, but rather give him something like good milk, which will actually nurture the child. So this is what exactly needs to be done. Railways need something which has to be given to the railways. I will tell you how the people perceived it. There are some comments. We said there is a first railway budget, in first time probably in India, wherein you do not know after reading the budget that a minister belongs to which state of India. The second comment, which was given to me by my colleagues in the railway board as well as former railway people, saying there is a first railway budget for the railways. So this is the budget for the railways for the first time. So we cared for the railways. We have created a budget for the railways. We are implementing it. I will tell you something. Unlike other ministries, they don't have a budget, so they don't have a yearly program announced in the parliament. I had a budget, so I announced not only yearly program but 5-year perspective. Each of the point that I mentioned in my budget speech is under implementation. In the first 39 days, 36 days, we have already implemented 39 of those budget announcements. All of the announcements are monitored regularly by the Chairman Railway Board. Each and every member of the Railway Board is monitoring it, and we have put it on the online monitoring, e-Samiksha. So whatever we have said is getting implemented. Once it is implemented, 3 years you will see a significant change. 5 years you will see a far, far better change than what you see today.
Your government has been very prudent in terms of fiscal issues. But there's one question I would like to ask you. There was a much touted railway turnaround when Mr. Lalu Prasad Yadav was the railway minister. Was it turnaround in actual ground reality, or was it just on paper?
I will tell you something rather than commenting on that in my own way. There was a Mamata Banerjee who succeeded him as a railway minister, presented a white paper. And in that white paper, she said whether what was really happening, she has put it there. I think you can read it, come to your own conclusion. That's what Mamata Banerjee told the parliament, and I think that will answer your question.
And my last question to you. What is your biggest challenge and the foremost priority as the railway minister?
The challenge is obviously multifarious. You know, because there are members of parliament wanting more, people are expecting more, services should be better, fares should not be increased, all of these challenges of many, many kinds. But my priority is obviously putting railway back on track, making sure the customer is the focus, so we will not do anything which does not interest the customer. Railways, in my opinion, can transform India, as our Prime Minister believes in. 2.5% to 3% of GDP can come from railways as a betterment of the economy. It can create huge number of jobs. It can bring in a real integration into the India. It can remove the regional disparity. So therefore, that's my priority, is to bring railway back to track and make sure that railways become the new growth engine for the country.
So thank you for speaking.
Thank you very much.